What would you do if I told you that the same people that find every excuse to smear you as a Nazi are out there covering up the fact that they support actual real life Nazis? Would anyone be surprised if I told you that? Because that's exactly what's happening. Journalists are asking Ukrainian soldiers to hide their Nazi patches, New York Lies admits. Yeah, we support you, but we don't want to be seen as supporting Nazis. So could you cover that up, please? The New York Lies has been forced to very, very belatedly deal with something which had long been obvious and known to many independent analysts and media outlets, but which has been carefully shielded from the mainstream masses in the West for obvious reasons. You kind of lose the right to call everyone you disagree with Nazis when you're out there supporting actual Nazis, huh? Right, the surprising Monday Times headline said that the Nazi symbols on the Ukraine's front lines highlight thorny issues of history. This acknowledgement comes after literally years of primarily independent journalists and geopolitical commentators pointing out that, yes, indeed, Ukraine's military and paramilitary groups, especially those operating in the East since at least 2014, have a serious Nazi ideology problem. So this has been exhaustively documented, again, going back years, but the report, which merely tries to downplay it as a thorny issue of Ukraine's unique history, suggests the real problem for the Western PR is fundamentally that it's being displayed so openly. Ukrainian troops are being asked to cover those Nazi symbols, please, as Matt Taibbi sarcastically quipped in a commenting on the report. Yeah, it's okay if you could be Nazis. We still support you, but we don't want our audiences to know that we support Nazis. That's where it gets problematic. Oh, yeah, guys, they're the good Nazis. Whatever happened to always punch Nazis, though? The authors of the New York Lies report begin by expressing frustration of the optics of Nazi symbols being displayed so proudly on many Ukrainian soldiers' uniforms, suggesting that many journalistic photographs, which have in some cases been featured in newspapers and media outlets worldwide, typically coupled with generally positive articles on the military, are merely unfortunate or misleading, the New York Lies report said. In each photograph, Ukrainians in uniform wore patches featuring symbols that were made notorious by Nazi Germany have since become part of the iconography of far-right hate groups. The only people that are out there hunting for far-right hate groups are far-left hate groups. And the report admits this has led to controversy where the newsrooms actually must delete some photos of Ukrainian soldiers and militants, the photographs and their deletions, how the Ukrainian military has complicated relationship with Nazi imagery, a relationship forged under both Soviet and German occupation during World War II. It's merely a thorny and complicated issue. Blows a small sampling of the kinds of patches that appear in Ukrainian military uniforms with some regularity. Yeah, so it's a thorny issue when they want to hide the fact that they support Nazis. If one of us knew someone who was related to someone who was a Nazi, they'd be smearing us as Nazis too. It's just outright evil, right? NATO itself has in recent past been forced to delete images of its officials' social media accounts due to Nazi imagery being present among Ukrainian troops during photo shoots. Oh my God. NATO is just as cucked as the UN as a whole, huh? So the following line from the report says everything you need to know about the so-called paper of record and its one-sided and ultra-simplistic coverage of what may finally be, many are finally waking up to realize is a war with deeply complex reality, to say the least. As far as the mainstream media's goodies versus baddies, Hollywood-esque narrative of Pootler versus the free world, which is typical of networks from Communist News Network to Fox to nothing but crap. So this is from the New York Lies. In November, during a meeting with Lies reporters near the front line, Ukrainian press officer wore a Totenkopf variation of the company called Reich. He said he did not believe the patch was affiliated with Nazis. A second press officer present said other journalists had asked soldiers to remove the patch before taking photographs. Oops. So you knew you were supporting Nazis, and instead of not supporting Nazis, you just told them to hide the fact that they're Nazis. And these guys have the moral high ground. Yeah, now it's complex, right? And now we might expect some significant efforts at damage control. Perhaps we're witnessing the beginnings of evolving definitions and moving of goalposts. But some members of these groups have been fighting Russia since the Kremlin illegally annexed part of the Crimea region in Ukraine in 2014. Now, illegally by whose standards? Might makes right, bitch. Now, some are regarded as national heroes, even as the far right remains marginalized politically. The iconography of these groups, including a skull and bones patch worn by concentration camp guards and a symbol known as the Black Sun, now appears with some regularity on the uniforms of soldiers fighting on the front line, including soldiers who say imagery symbolizes Ukrainian sovereignty and pride, not Nazism. Oh, it doesn't matter what you say. They're going to say, even if that was true, it's Nazism now. Yeah, some are writing more appropriate and apt headlines for the New York Lies story. Yeah, alternate headline: the West has blatantly whitewashed Ukraine's Nazi elements to fight Russia. Yes. Only very recently, Ukraine's defense ministry and even President Zelensky's office was caught in the act. In April, Ukraine's defense ministry used a photograph on its Twitter account of a soldier wearing a patch featuring a skull and bones known as a totenkopf for death's hand. Or death's head, right? The specific symbol in the picture was made notorious by a Nazi unit that committed war crimes and guarded concentration camps during World War II. The patch in the photograph sets the totenkopf atop a Ukrainian flag with a small number 6 below. The patch is official merchandise of Death in June, a British neo-folk band that the Southern Poverty Lie Center has said produces hate speech that exploits themes and images of fascism and Nazism. Yeah, like the biggest hate group in the U.S. right now is the Southern Poverty Lie Center. Or rather, it's a tie between them and the Defamation League. And yet they think they could go around labeling everyone else hate groups. Yeah, sure. So to be expected, the Lie still tries to run cover while desperately seeking to reassure its audience by writing that in the short term that threatens to reinforce Putin's propaganda and give fuel to the false claims that Ukraine must be denazified, a position that ignores the fact that Ukraine President Zelensky is Jewish. New levels of cope, indeed. They don't want to admit that. Maybe Russian man may not have been wrong there, huh? But then still, the New York Lies concedes awkwardly. More broadly, Ukraine's ambivalence about these symbols and sometimes even its acceptance of them risks giving new mainstream life the icons the West has spent more than half a century trying to eliminate. Well, that was fucking stupid to begin with. Like, especially because a lot of those icons, like the legendary swastika, well, like, isn't that the symbol that the Vikings used to represent the sun? And isn't that a symbol that's still used like in Buddhist temples all over the world? And they're trying to get rid of it because someone they view as bad used it once. Like, that was fucking stupid to begin with. So if this reverses that garbage, like historical revisionism and whitewashing trend, I'll be fine with that.